to be honest with you guys, I have played around with this problem, and I can make the problem work, but I've thought through this problem an awful lot. And I want to, this is on your notes, optimization notes 5.3, and it's the second problem down. All the other problems I can easily make work, and I know that you guys can easily make work, but I want to see if we can kind of explore how this could work. Some of you might see it right away, which is fantastic. And I have a couple ways that I want to run through it. So this one says a travel agency will plan tours for groups of 25 or larger. Okay, that makes sense, right? Tour of 25 people goes and sees something. If the group contains exactly 25 people, the cost is $310 per person. So what I was thinking on that is if I want 310 times 25, I would be able to figure out how much it's going to cost. Make sense so far? However, each person's cost is reduced by $10 for each additional person above the 25 person minimum. Okay. What is the size of the group that will produce the largest revenue for this travel agency? So I know that we have to figure out P at X. R at X is going to be X times whatever P at X is. So I want to kind of explore this because it's kind of a goofy problem. Now, you guys are smarter than I am. And where I'm struggling on this problem, let me highlight, because I keep reading it two different ways, and I just want to make sure I'm seeing it the way you guys are going to see it. So this is the one that goofs me up. That goofs me up. However, each person's cost is reduced by $10 for each additional person above the 25 person minimum. Now, friends, be honest with me. How are you reading this? Are you reading this that all of a sudden, let's say we had 26 people that are going on the trip, and that means that everyone's now going to be paying $300 versus $310? Or does that 26th person get paid $300 and the other 25 people still pay the $310? How are you seeing that?
The 26th person pays $300.
You seeing it as the 26 pays $300?
Yeah.
But they probably wouldn't know. They're probably going to pay the same amount. I don't know. Does anyone else see it different than that? Yes. So then if I had a second person that went, then each person's paying $290 and then $280, so on and so forth. Okay. Okay. Huh. And I can see it both ways. I can see the argument both ways. It's just I look at the wording of this going, wait a minute. So then I have to kind of take a step back and think, okay, a travel agency is in business to make money. Agree? So to me, I feel that they would have charged everybody $310, and the ones that they're getting above and beyond, that might just be, gravy for that person or that company. So I'm just trying to think of how this is going to work as far as a table. So let's do a little math here, just thinking forward. So if I have 25 on this trip, then that's going to be, it's going to cost this much money to take this many people. And I kid you not, I used to run the ski club when I was at Chaparral High School, and they used to have these types of problems given to us, and it was funny because I'd be on the bus going, okay, where's my marginalized profit? I know I charge each of these kids this much, and this is how much it's going to cost, but it would take place. So I think that if we were to plot this point on Desmos, and I'm going to go back and forth. So I'm just going to create a table on Desmos. I'm going to go into the table function, and I'm going to do 25 people, and that's 7750. And I'm just trying to do some first thinking about this. So now I have this dot. I have one singleton dot. Agree? Okay. So let's do this. Let's take the route that each additional person is going to reduce the cost of everybody. Okay, so I'm just going to think about this. So if I had 26 people that went, now we're going to multiply 26 times 300, 7,800.
It doesn't make sense. Because the first one was 7,750.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
Oh wait, no, there's an additional.
Yeah, I added one person. So so that's 300 times 26. So that's 7,800. Okay, and let's kind of go through. If I had 27, now that means that everyone's paying 290. So that's then 7,830. And if I did 28 people, that means everyone's paying 280. So that's at 7,840. So the company is continuing to make more money on this, but there's going to be a point where it's not going to work out. It's going to start going back down. So 29 times 270. So 7,830. Okay. So something took place there. And then let's just do one more. Whoops. Wait for that to happen. Let's do 30 at 260 a person. So then that's at 7,800. Okay. So let me write these down and then put them into Desmos and see if we can start deciphering what's really taking place. So 25 is 7,750. 26 is at 7,800. 27 is at 7,830. 28 is at 7,840. 29 is at 7,830. And 30 is at 7,800. And so let's take a look at what this will look like on Desmos and see if this can help us out. So 26, 7,800. So then we have those 2 points. And then 27 at 7,830. And we're going to have to eventually redo this graph. 28 at 7,840. 29 at 7,830. And 30 at 7,800. All right, so if I hit and do that, okay. If I do this, what shape is it starting to look like?
Parabola.
Looking like a parabola. I'd say if we did 31, that's going to take me back to 7,750. So why don't we add one more? So 31 at 7,750. So that's definitely a parabola. Now, the nice thing is we could probably go through on Desmos and figure out the equation. And on Desmos, if you do y1, because that's the name of our y column,
Just click the button.
you can click them and they come up.
That thing just brings up the equation.
Oh.
I think you have to play around with like where it says linear regression.
I gotcha. Linear, make it quadratic regression.
Yeah.
There it is. Ooh. All right. So y equals negative 10x squared
plus 560x plus 0. Well, that makes sense. 0 people, company didn't make any money. All right. Let's see, that's going to... Yeah. So I think that's a useful way of looking at it. But I also want to go back and I want to relook at the problem. So I'm going to write this equation down. This is one way that we are able to do it. This came up with y equals negative 10x squared plus 560x. I don't have to have a plus 0. Okay, so that seems to work. Let's see, is that what I kind of came up with when I was working it out? Oh, I'm off one spot. All right, now let's. So I agree with that. I think that's great. And so if you, whether you graph it or not, right here, because it's a discrete number of people, I'd say this is where we are getting the maximum amount of people. If we were this travel agency, we're hoping to get 28, because at 29, I'm starting to drop down. Okay, so that's where your max profit is taking place. 28 people, costing them all $280 each to go on this thing. And people are happy because, hey, you know, it started out this trip was going to cost us $310 per person. Now it's nice because we're at 28, so it's going to cost us $280 per person. So you're saving money, but the company itself is still making money off of this group. Okay, now I want to play around with this the other way. Okay, so I feel comfortable with this. Do you feel comfortable with it? So some people had seen this saying, however, the cost is reduced by $10 for each additional person above the 25 person minimum, which means if I had kind of taken this way, I'm going to get this out of my way. So 25 people, it's going to have a cost of the $7,750. But as soon as I bring in the 26th person, that person is now going to only going to pay $300. And I almost look at it this way, that the 27th person is at 300, the 28th person is at 300, because I don't think it's going to continue to reduce down. You know, I almost look at it and saying, however, each person's cost is reduced $10 for each additional person that comes on this 25-person minimum trip. Okay, so then there's something different that's taking place there. And I'm not sure if this is the right way to think about it or not. But I know some of you have thought of it this way, and I'm not saying that it's incorrect. I'm just trying to make the problem appropriate. And I think there's sometimes where you're going to get mixed up in the language, and that's where you really have to clarify. And if you're clarifying with a company, get it in writing exactly what they mean. Don't say, oh, this is what it is. I mean, get the person, your representative, to come out and do this. Now, I could tell you, my wife does something, and I still haven't figured out how in the heck she does it, other than she can roll, you know, she can rub 2 nickels together to get a quarter. So, so my wife, we're planning a trip down to Arizona. We're going to see my dad, but my wife wants to stay at this one particular resort. Well, she booked the tickets to stay at this resort in Phoenix, and it was originally $1,300 for the 5 days we're going to be there. She just went on and rebooked it, you know, made a new reservation, booked it, canceled the old reservation as long as you're within the game plan of, I think this resort was 48 hours in advance. If you cancel, you get a full refund. So now she went from it going $1,300 now to being $1,100. And my wife will continue. She's done this on every trip we have ever done. And it's amazing the amount of money that she saves because she will rebook a new reservation and see if there's a different rate that comes up. And she usually about every week or so will go through and redo this until basically 3 days before our trip, try it one last time. I mean, there was one time that we got a trip. I think, where were we going? I don't remember where we went. But it was like originally say $1,000 to stay, and she got it down to like $200 just by playing with the system a little bit. So that might be kind of a logical thought process of what you might want to do as you progress in life. So again, I'm not sure if this was meaning that, though when you read it, it's like this is what it says. So a lot of times the exact literal verbiage of it, and you guys are fortunate because you have a beautiful brain right now, but you also have, AI that could, what does this actually mean? And I'm curious. I'm going to do this because I know that why not utilize the technology we have? So I'm going to just copy this whole question. Oops, come here. I'm going to copy this whole question. I don't need the 5.3. Copy it. And I'm going to plug it into our favorite ChatGPT. And let's see what it means. Oops. Thought I copied it. Hey, what's up? You're good. Let's see. Edit, copy. I thought it was Control C. I thought I hit it. And then go here. And I think this is just a logical way of, sometimes if you read something and you're not sure, I think AI can definitely be a powerful tool for you. And it's given us, looks like the math thing says, to determine the group size and maximize revenue, let's define the revenue function in terms of group size where n is greater than 25. So when n is greater than 25, it costs us $3.10 for each additional person. We decrease by 10. So the formula for that is 310 minus 10 quantity n minus 25. So our cost equation is then 560 minus 10n. So what they basically did here is they distributed negative 10 over the parentheses and defined like terms. So I'm curious if this is close to what we had. Now we can change n to x real easily and plug it in. So they're saying that r at n is n times c at n. So that means that doing this, and they did the derivative. I'm so proud of them. So they're saying that and I'm going to have to do the second derivative. Maximizing the revenue, if we had 28 people, because if you solve you do this, you set the derivative equal to people, this is going to, when you do the derivative, remember the derivative, when you set it equal to 0, you're actually finding where the slope is equal to 0, and this was a parabola that opened downward. You're talking about a maximum value. So at 28 people, and is that what we had said? At 28 people, we did maximize our thing. So I think the nice thing is having the artificial intelligence recalibrate kind of what your thought process would be on this problem. And fortunately, we were able to get it correct by just, utilizing, one, I feel that, using technology such as your graphing calculator or Desmos is one way of going through it. And then the second way of doing it, we just verified using ChatGPT to clarify that 28 people is going to give us our maximum cost. Now I have to go back through and reread this, to make sure I did this right. So they're going 310, and then they're going to subtract 10 for every person over 25. That's why I the minus 25 there. So that's what's taking place on this top part here, which gives us this, and then we multiply these equations together, which is 560n minus 10n squared. And I got to go back. So hang on, let me write that down. 560 minus 10n squared. Go back here and take a look. This is what we came up with. They said they're using it, they just don't have it in order. So they're going 560n minus 10n squared. I feel these two equations are identical to each other. It's just out of order, and they're using n for number of people versus x, but it totally works. So, I think, I'm not the person to say that AI is a bad thing. I know that there's teachers that are just all hung up on don't ever, don't ever, don't ever. And to me, it's like, you guys are in a very intelligent population of people. So you have learned how to utilize stuff, and then you've utilized how you're using technology. So what I think is that what AI in a good way is going to do for us is it's going to allow us to learn to a certain level, and then it's going to allow us to define what the next level would be and think beyond it. And I think it's going to be a super helpful thing. So I think by proving this problem two ways, I think it worked out very nicely with us. And I almost feel like when you look at the Chat GPT, it accounted for that that you're charging 25 people $310, and then without you, the company, knowing, you could actually continue to make more and more money. If you didn't let the people know that 28 is your prime spot, and you wound up charging those people $310 each, even though you got to 28, I think it might be something to do, but it also might be something that you as the consumer, okay, you said we needed 25. You said I'm going to charge me $10 less per person if I do this. And then you can sit there and figure out how you as a consumer is not getting cheated, and the company would still feel good about making a nice profit. So I don't know, kind of a goofy way to think about it. I think, I know it says notes, but I think you guys could go through tonight and take a look at the 5.3 notes and complete the first page. So you have the one example at the top and the minimizing average costs at the bottom. I think you could do both of those. Sound like a plan? So like that? Did I do okay with that? Yeah. Give you a good idea, like, perspective on AI. I mean, it's here. It ain't going away. And a bunch of the old people who said, "Oh, it needs to go away," they need to get on board or get run over by the train, I think.